Um,
Just a second, please hold on.
okay.
Okay, we are on live. We can start.
Okay. So good evening to you all. I welcome you all to another webinar series on community health with Anajari. And I, Namrata Padgiri, shall be the host for today's session. So before starting, I would like to brief you all a bit about Anajari. So Anajari in simple words literally means the bond of love. Milind Datta is the founder of Enajori, and it is his love for his native land that brought him back from the USA to Assam in order to start this non-profitable organization that engages and promotes various initiatives such as striving for social change, loving leadership skills, and building entrepreneurship capacities among the people living in Northeast India. Uh, for a couple of months now, we have been interacting with speakers from different regions via virtual media on the topics that are current and significant in today's generation. So, moving on to today's session, today's topic will be the fear of judgment, why we care, and how to stop. So, our honorable speaker for today is Ms. Spreeha Bezbaruah. She is a counseling psychologist and the head psychologist at Socially Soul. With over 3 years of experience, she specializes in hypnotherapy and works with individuals to support their mental health and personal growth. Originally from Golaghat, Assam, she is now based in Mumbai for her work. Outside of her professional life, she has a keen affection for dogs and finds joy in their companionship. So, I welcome you, ma'am, to today's session. And now I would like you to take over the screen. Please, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much, Anajori and team, for honoring me with your honoring and inviting me here. I will just like to quickly start with sharing my screen and then we can take it from there. Namrata, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yes? Okay, great. So before we start, I will speak in three languages. That is going to be English, Hindi, and Assamia, of course. And but primarily, I will stick to English. I hope that's okay with everyone. But for any questions that anyone has, we will definitely take it up at the end of the talk. But it may feel a little theoretical, but I will try to make it as practical and as experiential as possible. And also, anytime during the talk, if Namrata, you feel that my network is lagging or anything, please just let me know. So I'll restart with the topic. Okay. All
Okay.
right. So to start with, the very first reason why I'm here is to talk about the topic, the fear of judgment and why we care and how to actually stop it. Now one of the thing about the topic is that we directly think that, কি যদি ভয় লাগিছে আমি সেইটো ৰখাব লাগিব. Fear is equal to stopping the process of that feeling, that emotion. But in today's talk, one thing that I would really like to highlight and point out is that fear is not something that we can stop because it's a biological process. আপুনি যেনেকে উশাহ লোৱাৰ পৰা নিজকে ৰখাব নোৱাৰে because it's a biological process. কথা ভাবা পৰা নিজকে ৰখাব নোৱাৰে. It's the same way that if you are fearful of something, you cannot stop it. You can control it, you can manipulate it, but you cannot stop it. ঠিক আছে? But a little bit like Namrata also very nicely introduced myself. So একেখিনিয়ে ময়ো লিখিছিলো. But yes, a very little bit something about me is that, and something that I really, when I was going through Energy and the website, something that really struck with me was about the community work. So one thing that I personally really look up to is, that the community should have access to mental well-being and professional help. But sobe koi ki, try your best, you are a psychologist, tumi manhuok ekelage help ko paribe, but it's not possible. One person alone cannot give mental health to every single person in this world, and that's where community work comes into play. So janeke aji webinar do, this is one of the ways in how you can actually spread awareness in a community. So I'm really happy with the kind of work Anajuri is doing, and that is something that I really wanted to point out. But yes, having said that, now to go directly into the topic. So my topic to kind of break down korisu is that obviously there is going to be a little bit of introduction to the topic. Post that I want to talk about ki আমি জাজমেন্ট বস্তুটো কিয় ফিয়ার করুন, কি কোনোবাই যে আমার কথা ইন আ সার্টেন ওয়ে ভাবে, ভাল হোক বা বেয়া, বাট আমি সেই বস্তুটোত ইমান থট ইমান মাইণ্ড আমি কিয় দিওঁ নেক্সট ইজ কি আমি বস্তুবোৰ যে আমি ইমান কেয়াৰ কৰিছো কি তাই মোৰ কথা এনেকে ভাবিছে তাই মোৰ কথা কাবাক যদি এনেকে কৈ দিয়ে তো কি হব চ' সেই বস্তুটো লৈ পেলাই আমি ইমান কিয় কেয়াৰ কৰো আমাৰ কি আহে যায় তাই যাকো কয় নকয় বাট মোৰ কি আহে যায়নো সেই বস্তুটো চ' সেই কেয়াৰটো what is the psychology behind that and next is now how to overcome that fear of judgment or more like how to control that fear of judgment Lasted, I will have an activity, but this is an activity which I really expect ki by the end of the webinar, sobe nijor ghorot, nijor friends বা family লগত এবাৰ try কৰি চাবলে then you will better understand ki আমি এতিয়া কিয় এইবোৰ সব বস্তু discuss কৰিছো and towards the end there will be the question answer round and of course the end of the webinar so one of the first thing that I want to start with is that all the listeners here everyone including Namrata and the team of Energy of course I really want you to think when was the last time, as the question also shows on the PPT, when was the last time you hesitated to do something because of fear? Maybe you wanted to sing, maybe you wanted to dance, maybe you wanted to participate in a drama, maybe you simply wanted to tell your boss ki mure bostu to koibole mon nai, simply you wanted leave. What was it for the last time that you hesitated to do because you were fearful about it? Think for it for 2-3 seconds. I hope so. Bhabile ki bata to mind rahile sage as soon as I said fear. But now I don't want you to obviously tell me what that was because it's personal to you. But now I really want you to think ki ami je hai fear to asile. Was that fear because we felt we will get judged, or was it because we were actually trying to protect ourselves because of the feeling of judgment? Do you really think that fear had something evidence behind it? Of course, situations or circumstances or, but I mean concrete evidence. Of course, I'm not expecting yes or no, but it's like a self question.
Ma'am, it's not exactly like the fear of judgment or
Hmm?
the fear itself that what
Hmm.
will I be able to confront the particular thing or not. But then again, which I personally at this current time when I am in my classes and the
Hmm.
teacher expects me or the other students to respond to her questions, it's like the students are really very casual. They're like,
Hmm.
even if we are not answering, the teacher will suppose that the teacher is supposed to tell us the answer at the end of the
Correct.
day. So that
Correct.
this is also a kind of attitude that we keep.
Hmm.
And also about the thing of fear, it's true that among the students there are many who are fearful to confront the teacher, or also this is also the thing that they might be get judged by the other students. That is why
Correct.
they don't come in front. So, ma'am, yeah,
Correct.
that is how I think actually.
Correct, and you're very rightly saying that because a lot of times, jita teacher your question ta hude, mindot kibata holo, there is an answer that comes. You don't think of it whether it's correct or right as soon as the thought comes. After the thought comes, then you decide ki answer to correct hoy na wrong hoy, junto mon mindot ahise. But one of the ways on how we decide whether to speak up is by the environment. It has been teacher personally who say, মই কৈ দিম অকলে without anyone in the class because মই জানো টিচাৰে হয় এনেও সুধিছে আনসাৰ দিবই লাগিব বাট যেতিয়া মই ক্লাছ এটাত আছো এণ্ড টিচাৰে চবকে সুধিছে সেই কুৱেশ্যনটো লাগিলে মই আনসাৰটো জানো বাট টু ফিল কি মই হাতটো উঠাই আনসাৰটো দিও নেকি what will students think about me will they think মই over smart বনিছো by being the teacher's pet বা what if মই wrong answer দি দিও and চবে হাঁহে বা what if মোৰ pronunciation ভুল হয় what if মোৰ slip of tongue হৈ যায় so then we don't answer this but a what if Pooja, he said, if you see it is in association with people around me. As soon as we think about more usore pazare manwe judge koriba, I need to directly protect myself. Hetu karone I don't end up answering this. And obviously if someone is thinking ki mukunbai judge koribo niki, obviously they are also coming from a place ki maybe agote kunubai korisile, kunubai fun uraisile, kunubai mazak uraisile. He karone hote etia bhoy khaise. But currently at this present situation kunubai kiba koise niki. নাই কোৱা but মোৰ ভয় লাগিছে yes because I feel they will judge me now that judge can be a teacher it can be a student it can be anyone and this is something যোনটো আমি আগতে ভাবো কি চলো এইটো অকল স্কুল লেভেলত হয় because সব সৰু হৈ থাকে but that is not the case that this happens anywhere and everywhere even at job you sometimes think কি চলো কাইলে মই এইটো পিন্ধি যাব বিচাৰিছো like this coat but will people judge me because I am wearing black with brown pants then is it okay কি মই এনেকে পিন্ধিব পাৰো So, this judgment is something that you will find everywhere. And that is why I think this is a very, very important topic. Now, to very well start with, this judgment is something that we are also fearful about. I mean, bhoy khao ki manhue judge korile ki hoi jabo. So now when I'm talking about fear, fear itself is an emotional and a physiological response to a perceived threat or real danger. তার মানে কি আইদার আমি ইমোশনালিও ফিল করো ফিয়ার বাট আমি ফিজিওলজি ইমোশনালি মানে মোৰ দুখ লাগিছে মোৰ বেয়া লাগিছে মোৰ এনজাইটি হৈছে physiologically would mean that my hands might shake, I might start sweating, my heartbeat might fasten. So that is my physiological response. Perceived threat or real danger mane hoy ki zaruri na hoy ki there is actually something dangerous in front of me. It is also something that I might be assuming is fearful or assuming it's a threat for me. Like sometimes আমি যেতিয়া কাৰোবাৰ ৰিলেটিভৰ ঘৰলে যাওঁ এণ্ড সিহঁতৰ ঘৰত কুকুৰ থাকে এণ্ড ছাপোজলি মই ভয় খাওঁ কুকুৰৰ পৰা বাট মই ৰিলেটিভৰ ঘৰলে গৈছো এণ্ড মই জানো সিহঁতি কুকুৰটো ভাল পায় এতিয়া মই কেনেকে সিহঁতক কওঁ আৰু সিহঁতি মোক কৈ আছে কি কুকুৰটোৱে নাকামোৰে বাট মইতো ভয় খাওঁ ন জাষ্ট বিকজ সিহঁতি কৈছে নাকামোৰে হাউ ডু আই জাষ্ট বি চ অকে এণ্ড চিট ইন দ্য প্লেচ চ' দেট ইজ মাই পাৰচিভড থ্ৰেট কিন্তু ভয়টো মোৰ লাগিছে হাত কঁপনিটোতো মোৰ হৈছে so that is at the end of the day fear that I'm feeling. But if fear to know it is coming because of my survival mechanism, because I need to survive, because I need to protect myself. And for every human being, no, fear is a evolutionary perspective, which we will discuss about. I know it all up theoretical ho say part two, but this is understanding this concept is very important because always remember fear can be real or perceived. Jodi fear in judgment to real hoy, that means tumhara got facts ase. That means now you know how to manipulate the situation. But jodi fear which is in front of you is perceived, that means to me bhabi something is wrong. It's not necessarily that something is wrong. It's not necessary ki something is trying to hurt you or something is being a threat. Fear when it is real it can be worked upon. Fear when it is perceived it is very difficult to work upon because it is in your mind, it is not in front of you. ठीक है sir? Now the very first bit of the question ki why fear judgment, আমি ভয় কিয় খাওঁ? Now always remember one thing, যোনটো fear হয় no, it is a biological process like how I started with. So যেনেকে আমাৰ amygdala বুলি আমাৰ বস্তু এটা আছে ব্ৰেইনৰ যোনটো অটোমেটিকলি এক্টিভেট হৈ যায় আমি যেতিয়াই কিবা fear response এটা পাওঁ সেই বস্তুটো it's an involuntary process. I am not deciding to activate, সেইটো automatically activate হয় যেনেকে automatically activate হয় automatically my physiological response will start. As soon as my physiological response starts my emotional response of fear will also start. So that is why when I suddenly start feeling fearful of something, I panic. And that's where most of us lose it because you start panicking. You start thinking again in the lines of panic. Ami etu na bhabo ki, bro, take a deep breath. Let me just figure it out what that is. We just go with the panic. ठीक है. Another thing that happens is in our prefrontal cortex. So याद की होय, whenever we evaluate something is a threat, instead of calming down our amygdala, we actually increases the fear in a way. Again, because this is biological, it is very difficult to control it. Okay, so the reason I'm again putting emphasis on biological is because sometimes you will talk to people june tuma kobo ki bas positive bhaba and fear to kusi jabo, but they will just tell you ki you are feeding onto the fear. But fear is not something that you only feed into, it is an involuntary process which automatically comes. Now as psychologist, even in therapy moi ketiao kono client ok nokau ki tumi jodi bhoy khaisa, that's wrong. That's right, you should be fearful. Tumar jodi ahise bhoy kiba eta ta mane your arousal levels are high, which is a good thing because arousal leads to performance. But then again I will teach my client কি কেনেকে সিহঁতি এই ফিয়ৰটো এতিয়া কন্ট্ৰল কৰিব পাৰে, কেনেকে এই ফিয়ৰটো that they are feeling can be now converted from a negative feeling to a positive feeling. That is something that we help in therapy. We never tell our clients কি ভয় খাব নাপায় because that is biological. You can't tell a biological thing নাপায় বুলি, right? So yes, so one of the first thing is that why we even fear judgment. So one of the perspective of it is called as an evolutionary perspective. Evolutionary perspective means ki something that has been going on since Adam and Eve, since the time the world was built. তেতিয়া পৰাই, so আগতে কেনেকুৱা আছিলে early human beings, যদি তুমি কিবা এটা বস্তুৰ পৰা fear হৈছে, judgment to পাছৰ কথা. When I'm talking about fear is something that has been because কি মই যদি ভয় নাখাওঁ তেতিয়া maybe মোক কোনোবাই আহি মাৰি দিব, কি because early human being সিহঁতি tribes ত থাকিছিলে. Judgment and rejection meant ki you are losing food, you are losing shelter, you are losing protection. Avoiding judgment automatically meant survival. Because as long as no one is judging me, moi ek community to logot survive koibo parim. Muk jodi kunbai judge korise, muk jodi hoti bhabise ki I am not strong enough to bring food for my wife, by hoti jodi muk bhabise I am not healthy enough to bear kids. I'm talking about obviously from a very purana perspective. Ki I am not healthy enough to bear kids. Maybe সিহঁতি মোক এই community টোৰ পৰা ওলাই দিব সিহঁতি মোক community পৰা ওলাই দিলে my life will be at stake. I will need someone to protect me. I will need someone to help me to survive, and I will die because I will not have a community to protect me. That's where the feeling of fear comes from. And judgment back in the evolutionary perspective meant ki whether you can sustain your family, whether you can bear kids. But what happens, no, today's world, judgment is about opinions. Judgment is no more about sense of safety. It is now about the people's opinion. But you see, our mind, our brains is still that Purana, ancient mind only. From an evolutionary perspective, our brains still reject or it still reacts to judgment as if it is a threat that we need, or as if it is a threat that we need to avoid in order for us to survive. Because like for example, I'll give you whenever we have a fear of posting on social media, because sometimes we feel, what if we don't get enough likes, what if we don't get enough views? Not getting enough likes or not getting enough views, it is a fear of rejection that people have today. That is the form of rejection that we have. If supposedly I am not the most famous kid in class and I am like that invisible kid in class, I will feel rejected. Like I am very smart in my studies and everything, but I feel rejected. Because I'm feeling rejected, automatically it is hampering my mind, which says that you are not surviving well enough, you are being judged. Automatically I will start feeling that এতিয়া মই কি কৰিম, মোৰ ভয় লাগিছে, মই ক্লাছলৈ কেনেকে যাওঁ, then I start being absent to class, then মই ঘৰত সদায় ৰাতিপুৱা উঠি কওঁ মোৰ পেট বিষাইছে, আজি স্কুল যাব নোৱাৰো, আজি কলেজ যাব নোৱাৰো. That's where all of these comes up from. ঠিক আছে? So obviously your evolution plays a very major part in how we actually perceive fear. Or even if I'm perceiving fear, specifically fear of judgment, মোক কিয় ভয় লাগিছে? Today, fear of judgment is not for survival. Back then, it was for survival. So, hetu bostu it has just become generalized. The second thing is about the cultural reinforcement. Because, today when I'm talking about culture, culture is not just me knowing enough literature or me knowing my roots. Culture today also includes being a part of a shared community. Shared community also involves social media. Social media is a very large part. I mean, Janake, a webinar too. It has been published in Facebook, if I'm not wrong. So, it was a social media. This is one of the ways in how you're also spreading awareness. So, hekane social media, whether for the good or the bad, is very, very important to us. But ama Instagram, if you see, it is all about filters today. Ki thik ase mur mukhot bahut pimples or marks ase, mur bahut dark spots ase. Kintu moi jodi filter ta lagai long, I become pretty. So that's how I look at it. Like even now, the other day, I think my kibata Instagram post korisilo and I posted it without a filter. I think mane auto tanike goyase and my hair was flying, so I liked it. So I posted it. And then one of my followers, mane enike story reply disile ki tumar sokut iman dark circles hoy goise ki hol khabole sabole poa nai niki, with a lot of enike hahi thaka emoji. Now for me, for him, it was supposed to be funny. But for me, it was not funny because someone said that to me about my looks, about how I look like, about how I should feel, about how my dark circles are. So that automatically became what? That I am being judged for my dark circles. Jeneke more lagile, I am being judged, more automatically bear lagibo lagile. In a way, I became fearful. What did I end up doing? I ended up deleting that story. Because মই এনেকুৱা লাগিছে, if he এনেকুৱা ভাবিছে, what if বেলেগেও তেনেকুৱা ভাবিছে? বেলেগেওতো ভাবিব পাৰে, বেলেগেও চাগে ষ্টৰিটো ফৰৱাৰ্ড কৰি বেলেগক কৈছে কি স্পৃহাৰ চকুকেইটা চা কেনেকুৱা হৈ গ'ল আজিকালি. So that fear made me delete that story. জবকি I don't even know এইবোৰ কোন বেলেগ মানুহ হয়. মোক এটা মানুহেতো কৈছিলে, big deal. But still I deleted it. লাগিলে no matter মই যিমানো কিয় talked into fear judgment, but চবৰে fearটোতো আহেই automatically, So that is about your filter life on Instagram. And I think especially for young adulthood, no, june just এতিয়া jobs or সোমাইছে, for them even more than Instagram, it is LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn you see perfect careers. কোনোবাই আজি ক'বাত talk দিছে, কোনোবাই আজি TED talk দিছে, কোনোবাই আজি ইমান salary পাইছে at a very young age. Careers বোৰ ইমান ধুনীয়াকে portray কৰা হয়, no, that you start feeling ki মইনো কি কৰি আছো, because automatically you compare. You start seeing ki this person at 18 is doing this, me at 18 is doing nothing. And because of that, the fear that you will get judged, because বেলেগ কোনোবাই কিবা এটা কৰি আছে, and God knows who is judging, huh? But you start feeling ki মোকো যদি বেলেগে judge কৰে, so আমি নিজৰ standards বোৰ বহুত high কৰি দিওঁ because of that, even though লাগিলে the two things are not even related. And that is another thing that instills the fear. Junto fear already ase because of evolutionary perspective. A fear to basi reinforce ho jay, mane a fear to basi strengthened ho jay, basi strong ho jay. Because of which now I feel more scared in this generation as well. Right? Another thing that I want to bring into focus ki jete I'm talking about why fear judgment. There is an agent topic too which is on my screen, the amplification of fear in modern society. Because one thing we need to know ki lagile thik ase evolution hoy gol. Obviously we are always evolving, but then again now we are no more early human beings. Now I don't need to be a part of a tribe to have survival. Today I can help myself survive. My family is there for me to survive. But then again, why is social media or people around me playing a such a major role? They part to understand kora bahut important hoy, because that is where a lot of generation gap comes. Etia janeke my parents, মোৰ parents etia goi Facebook join কৰিছে, I think in the last 2-3 years. Etia my entire Bezbaruah khandan is on Facebook, and hetu karone now I am on Instagram and I don't use Facebook anymore. My Facebook generation has gone. But then again, if I think about even before Orkut came, more parents, they never had Facebook, they never had social media. They maximum had letters and telephone to talk about. So সিহঁতৰ কাৰণে sometimes to understand ki where my fear is coming from, ki belege ki bhabibo, it's very different than their fear of belege ki bhabibo, because সিহঁতৰ time of word of mouth was something very different. More time of word of mouth is something very different. And this is another thing that I would like all of you to focus on, ki generation gap or two, the fear of judgment has two different understandings. ठीक है sir, because of the current scenario. And that is why, even when, and the reason I'm saying this is because I think 2-3 days back only I had a client. যোনে মোক কৈ আছিলে কি and my client was he was also actually from Assam only, and he was telling me কি তাৰ parents আৰু কথাবোৰ বুজি নাপায়, সি যেতিয়া বাৰে বাৰে কৈ আছে কি stop making comments on my Facebook DP and all of them, parents কৈ থাকে কি এনেকে নিদিবি তেনেকে নিদিবি, so সি বেয়া পায় মানে কি parents কিয় ইমান কৈ থাকে. But then again, his parents are also coming from a certain fear of judgment only. Parents say কেতিয়াও বেয়া নাপায় if their kid is looking cute and happy and having a good life. Parents say সেইটো কেতিয়াও বেয়া নাপায়. সিহঁতৰ problem is কি তুমি যে এনেকে shorts পিন্ধি ফটোটো দিছা, ওচৰে পাজৰে মানুহে কি ভাবিব, ওচৰে পাজৰে মানুহে কি কব, that is their problem. And my client's problem is কি মই যদি shorts টো পিন্ধি ফটোটো নিদিও and মই ধুনীয়া নেদেখো, মোক মানুহে ভাল নাপাব, মানুহে ভাবিব কি এই কেনেকুৱা হয়, she's not cool, she's not modern. So their entire perspective of judgment is very different, but both are coming from the sense of fear. কোনো এটাই fun perspective পৰা নাই, দুটাই ভয় fear perspective পৰা আহিছে. ঠিক আছে, the only common theme here is at the end of the day fear of judgment, just that বস্তুটো বেলেগকে portray কৰা হয়. ঠিক আছে. Now see, when I'm talking about why this judgment ki কোনে কি কব, why does it feel so real? One of the reason is because আমাৰ mind বোৰ এতিয়ালৈকে তেনেকে wire হৈ আছে কি this is for survival. মানুহে যদি judge কৰে মই survive কৰিব নোৱাৰিম in the society, so সেইটো কাৰণে মোৰ ভয় লাগে and survive, and we are social beings. Without being accepted into the society we cannot flourish. লাগিলে আমি কিমানে extrovert introvert কিয় নহওঁ, that is a personality, but we always need to be a part of a society. We always need to feel like belonging to somewhere. এতিয়া যেনেকে কিমান মানুহ অসমৰ পৰা লাগিলে দিল্লী, এতিয়া দিল্লীতে কিমান অসমীয়া মানুহ আছে, কিমান so এতিয়া আমাৰ অসমৰে মানুহবোৰ যেতিয়া supposedly Canada গৈছে, Canada গৈ why is the first thing that they're looking for is কি অসমীয়া মানুহ ক'ত আছে, কিয় লাগে, তোমাৰতো ঘৰত আছে ভিডিঅ' কল কৰা, but তুমি Canada গৈ পেলাই কিয় অসমীয়া মানুহ বিচাৰিছা? Because you need that sense of belonging, because you want to survive, because you want to be accepted, because you don't want to be lonely in an unknown country. It's a different continent altogether. So সেই ভয় এটা থাকে for our survival. That is the reason কিয় আমি নিজৰ নিচিনা মানুহৰ লগত থাকি বেছি ভাল পাওঁ, because আমি জানো কি মোৰ friends বোৰ who are like me only, they will not judge me. মই যদি কেক 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 মাতত কথাও পাতো, জোৰ জোৰকে দাঁত দেখাইও হাঁহো, মই জানো মোৰ friends কেতিয়াও হয়তো বেয়াকে নকয়. But যদি মই cafe এখনত গৈ পেলাই জোৰে জোৰে হাঁহিছো দাঁতবোৰ দেখাই দেখাই, ওচৰে পাজৰে মানুহে মোক লুকচ দিব, সিহঁতে মোক চাব কি এনেকে কিয় হাঁহিছে, গোটেইকেইটা দাঁত কিয় দেখাইছে তাই, ছোৱালী নিচিনাকে নবহে কিয়, ভৰিটো ভৰিব উঠাই পেলাই ভৰিকেইটা এনেকে কৰি কিয় বহিছে তাই। চ' সেই ফিয়াৰটো ইটছ ভেৰি ডিফাৰেণ্ট, ঠিক আছে। বাট ওৱান অফ দ্য বেষ্ট থিংছ আৰ দ্যাট আমাৰ যোনটো ফিয়াৰ অফ জাজমেণ্ট থাকে ন, ইট ইজ ভেৰি নৰ্মেল, ইট ইজ নট চামথিং কি অকল মই ফিল কৰো বা অকল মোৰ ক্লায়েণ্টছে ফিল কৰে, চবে ফিল কৰে এট চাম পইণ্ট অৰ দি আদাৰ। লাগিলে তো আমি কোনো এটাই জেনেৰেশ্যনৰ পৰা কিয় নহয়, এভৰি ওৱান ফিলছ ইট। বাট দেৰ আৰ অলৱেজ ৱেজ, ৱেদাৰ সেই ফিয়াৰটো ৰিয়েল হওক বা ৱেদাৰ সেই ফিয়াৰটো ইমেজিন হওক, there are actually ways in how we can control this fear of ours. ठीक है? So that brings us to the next segment, that is the psychology behind caring too much. So when I'm talking about caring, कि कौन तो मैं इन्हें के कोई दियो ना कि अरे don't care about it ना, उसने बोल दिया ऐसे, तेरे को क्यों फर्क पड़ रहा है, আমি কোয়াত এনেকে কৈ দিও, but फर्क পড়ে, বেয়া লাগে, we do care about it. So psychologically, one of the reasons why we care about it, it is called as the spotlight effect. ঠিক আছে, you all can যদি if you all want, I think to Namrata I can forward a research paper. So এটা research কৰা হৈছিলে, তাত কি হৈছিলে, ৰিচাৰ্চাৰটোৱে মানে বহুত কেইটা পাৰ্টিচিপেণ্টছ থৈছিলে, around 50 participants in a college. So কলেজত usually that feelings of কি ইও মোক চাইছে, তাইও মোক চাইছে, মই কেনেকে বহো কেনেকে কৰো, it is much more heightened than when you are in other aspects of your life. So এই ৰিচাৰ্চটো এনেকুৱা হৈছিলে কি the researcher had given the participants very funky looking clothes, like very atrangi clothes to wear and to go to college. Now the participants were really enekwa ki how can I wear this and go, I will look funny and all of that, but they still went because I think they were paid for it, ne kiba ne khana disle kiba ta hoisile. So they went, they wore the clothes and they went. So after the day's end, the researcher then asks the participant, what is it that you noticed? And the participants kept saying that I was looking so funny. Why did you make me wear this? Like, I did not like the way I look. But hardly participants said that someone walked up to them and told them that you look bad. That's what the conclusion of the study was. A lot of times we think people are looking at us. We put ourselves in the spotlight, but actually no one cares. তুমি ওচৰ পৰা গলেতো মানুহে দেখিবই, চকু আছে, চাবই সিহঁতি। But it is not ki they will keep looking at you when তোমাৰ কথা ভাবি থাকিব, but আমাৰ তেনেকুৱা লাগে. And that itself is spotlight, where we believe that others are taking notice of what I do, others are taking notice of my actions, others are thinking ki what am I doing. But actually that is never the case. Everyone is busy thinking about themselves only. Everyone is busy thinking that do I look good enough, how will I present the presentation, how will I speak, what will I do in class, I'm feeling hungry, I want to go home and sleep. Everyone is thinking their own things. Maximum for a nanosecond they will pay attention to and then they will look away. Because human mind, ami jiman selective attention koro no, it is not possible for us, like biologically it is not possible for us to think about the same thing for more than 7 minutes. Maximum ami bhabibo paro at a stretch is 7 minutes. Tar pisot amar mind to kobat ne kobat jaboi. But yes, 7 minutes to kiba ta kotha bhabiso no, that is something that has to be really important. And these are usually related to your traumas, related to stuff that has gone wrong in your life, or maybe an incident that was the happiest in your life. Not about how someone dressed and how they look like when they crossed you. So his spotlight to karne maine ko lage manhe bhabi ase. That is not actually the case. So that is one psychological perspective. Second thing is something called as cognitive distortions. It is see, amar already lagise ki manhue amak judge korise, right? Lagile ek second karne judge korise. But then again, he ek second to mur enekwa lagibo ki gute din hi mu kothai bhabi ase. Gute din he gute group to mu kotha hahi thakile ki moi enekwa kyo holu. Ba mo pani khai thakote pani to spill hoy gol and teacher e kiba ta comment dile class ot sobe hahile, eta sake ghor ghor hoti nijor parents ok koise ki aji mur logot enekwa hol. কিয় আমি সেই বস্তুটোৰ কাৰণে ইমান exaggerate কৰি আছো? There are two reasons to this. One is called catastrophizing, the other is called mind reading. Catastrophe মানে কিবা এটা বহুত ডাঙৰ, something very big, assuming that the worst happens. So catastrophe would mean ki মই যদি পানী খাই থাকোতে spill হৈ গল, মোৰ গোটেই কাপোৰত পানী লাগি যাব আৰু মই চাগে মিটিঙত যাব নোৱাৰিম, so মোক চাগে জবৰ পৰা উলিয়াই দিব। Now, if you see, my this entire sentence is sage hobo. Sage, like maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen, maybe the other thing will happen. Here, nothing is sure. I am just thinking about the future in the worst possible manner. মোৰ লগত একো হোৱা নাই তেনেকে. I am just thinking about it. So, catastrophe always means thinking about the worst, thinking about the सबसे bad thing happening to you. ঠিক আছে? It's like our mind, no? There are something called as schemas. Schemas are shortcuts in our brain. So, যেনেকে when I'm talking about a client who is suicidal, who are thinking about committing suicide, one of the reason why the suicidal ideations, ki, all of kibada hole, now your mind is directly taking you to suicide. One of the reasons is because you have framed shortcuts in your mind. তুমি সেই বস্তুটোৰ কথা ইমান ভাবিছা কি এতিয়া যদি মোৰ গাত একচুয়ালি পানীও পৰি যায়, মোৰ মাইন্ড উইল টেক মি টু সুইচাইড। দিস ইজ নট বিং ইনসেনসিটিভ, দিস ইজ ৰিয়েলিটি। আমাৰ মাইণ্ডে বায়লজিক্যালি সেই স্কিমাছবোৰ ফৰ্ম কৰে। দিস ইজ নন এজ নিউৰোপ্লাষ্টিচিটি। সেই বস্তুটো অট'মেটিকলি মোৰ মাইণ্ডত হৈ আছে। দেট ইজ ৱাই উই অলছো ষ্টাডি ইন সাইকলজি কি বা ইভেন টু প্ৰেগনেন্ট উইমেন আমি কিয় কওঁ থিংক গুড, লাৰ্ণ গুড, সি গুড, ইমান গুড 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 আমি কিয় কৰি থাকো ন, জবকি ৱৰ্ল্ড ইজ অফ গুড এণ্ড বেড। ইটস বিকজ আৱাৰ মাইণ্ড ইট ফৰ্মছ নিউৰোপ্লাষ্টিচিটি, যোনটো অট'মেটিকলি ডেভেলপ হৈ থাকে। And these are shortcuts that we form in our mind. So যদি মোৰ লগত কিবা এটা বেয়া হ'ব, my mind will directly take me to the shortcut কি মোকতো জবৰ পৰা উলিয়াই দিব এতিয়া। মোৰ যদি এটা প্ৰেজেন্টেশ্যনত slip of tongue হ'ল, লাগিলে no one reacted, মই আহি পেলাই এনেকে বহি আছো, কিন্তু মোৰ মাইণ্ডত চলি থাকিব কি shit, after the presentation তো মোক definitely উলিয়াই দিব, মোক definitely উলিয়াই দিব। जबकि after the presentation my boss tells me you did such a nice job, but মোৰ মাইণ্ডত এনেকে থাকিব, but why is he not telling me about the wrong that I did? I am holding on to it because I feel the worst thing will happen to me. Okay, that is a cognitive distortion when we see reality in a distorted manner. Okay, next is mind reading. You see, mind reading is something which is very very common. Mind reading simply means ki amar enekwa lage ki as if ami janu hai itu manhue ki bhabi ase. So sometimes when you talk to your friends or your family also and you say no ki are moi janu no hi ki bhabi ase, moi janu hi enekwa kyo korile, but ami actually nazano until and unless the other person explicitly tells us this is the reason why I did a certain thing, one person will never know he bostutu. But still, because of cognitive distortions, আমাৰ এনেকুৱা লাগে কি নাই মইতো জানোৱে মানুহটো এনেকে কিয় কৰিছে, মইতো জানোৱে, and because I feel কি মই জানো এইটো মানুহে কি ভাবিছে, I think of the worst. I will not think of the best. I will think কি মই চাগে এক্সটেম্পৰী স্পীচ দি থাকোতে মোৰ শ্লিপ অফ টাং হৈছিলে, চবে চাগে মোৰ ওপৰত হাঁহিছিলে, মোৰ কথা চাগে চবে বেয়া বেয়াকে ভাবি আছে, এণ্ড মোৰ মুখত মানুহবোৰে আহি পেলাই কৈ আছে নহয় স্পৃহা ইট ৱাজ সো নাইচ, बट मैं फिर भी वही सोच रही हूँ कि they are pretending, they are faking it, they are definitely thinking bad about me, but मुखर पर तो कोई ऐसे no I am good, why can't I accept that? Because I am fearful, because I feel कि নহয় ইহঁতি বেলেগ কিবা judge কৰি আছে, and that is known as a distortion. Okay, and this is where the third point comes into play, and that is called reframing. So now if I have to, by now, we have talked about why we fear judgment and how it affects us, right? But here's the good news that you don't always have to be stuck in that fear. Today, there are actually 3 steps that I will help you in how you can actually reframe your narrative. You can build self-compassion, and you can always practice this through self-exposure, because that is how it's going to actually help you. Because see, until unless you reframe the narrative, you will always be stuck in that loop. When I say reframe, that means look at the situation from a different perspective. That means instead of having a cognitive distortion which makes you feel ki supposed to be I know how the person is thinking about me, I need to reframe that narrative. I need to look at that narrative now from a different perspective. ঠিক আছে? So here another part that brings us is to reframe. So মই বাৰে বাৰে reframe word to use কৰি আছো because this is also something that you will learn a lot about in therapy. ঠিক আছে? যেতিয়া মই কৈছো how to overcome the fear, কি ঠিক আছে মোৰ ভয় লাগিছে, it is biological, it is evolutionary, it is because of the cultural norms. This is why কিয় মোৰ ভয় লাগিছে, মই এই ভয়টো কাৰণে কেয়াৰ কৰো, মই কিয় বস্তুটো কাৰণে কেয়াৰ কৰিছো, because of there are cognitive distortions which are again biological in me. Obviously, having said that, all of these can be controlled. But now, how to control it? How to overcome? So the best way to overcome all of this is to reframe the narrative. Reframe the narrative or matlab hai ki instead of asking that, ki, is it really about me? Because, sometimes I'm sure everyone has these kind of experiences, when to mean your family ragot, you wear a certain kind of a dress, and তোমাক সেইটো ভাল লাগে, so you are wearing it, but তুমি এনেকে আহা and কোনোবাই ৰিলেটিভে কৈ দিব কি স্পৃহা ইমান শকত লাগিছা, ভাল লগা নাই তোমাৰ ওপৰ ড্ৰেছটো, automatically I'll be taken aback. Now, obviously, that is judging me. But then again, that is their opinion, right? But মই সেইটো লৈ যদি বহি থাকো আৰু মোৰ এনেকুৱা লাগে কি মোক এনেকে কিয় কৈ দিলে মোৰ মাহীয়ে বা মোক এনেকে মোৰ পেহীয়ে মোক এনেকে কিয় কৈ দিলে কি মই শকত লাগিছো মই বেয়া লাগিছো শকত লাগিলে কি বেয়া থৰি না লাগে বাট মোক বেয়া বুলি কিয় এনেকে কৈছে মই যদি সেইটো এনেকে ভাবি থাকো that means I am fearful of judgment. But for a second মই বস্তুটো narrative to change কৰিব পাৰো. That means instead of thinking कि is it coming from their sense of fear? Maybe it is coming from what they feel. You know, maybe মোক যে কৈছে কি মই শকত লাগিছো আৰু মই বেয়া লাগিছো, maybe it is their mindset কি সিহঁতৰ এনেকুৱা লাগে কি সিহঁতি শকত লাগিলে চাগে সিহঁতক কোনোবাই বেয়া বুলি কৈছিলে সেইটো কাৰণে সিহঁতি সেই বস্তুটো মোৰ ওপৰত জেনেৰেলাইজ কৰিছে so it is their fear, it's not my fear, it's their fear. So মানুহে যেতিয়া কেতিয়াবা comments বোৰ pass কৰে no, we just need to reframe the narrative, just turn the tables. Is it really about me they're talking about, or are they talking about their insecurities? ঠিক আছে and half the time you will see, trust me, I'm saying this as a psychologist, most of the time যেটা মানুহে এটা comment pass করে no, it is coming from their insecurities. It is not coming from how you look like or how you are talking like or how you sit like. সিহঁতক definitely at some point in their life কোনোবাই কিবা এটা comment pass কৰিছিলে which has now been instilled within them as their fear, যোনটো সিহঁতি project কৰে on other people, but it's not about you, it's about them. Now when you reframe the narrative no, automatically you'll see ki ইমান বেয়া লাগা নাই কোনোবাই যদি মোক শকত আৰু বেয়া বুলিও কৈছে মোৰ বেয়া লাগা নাই হয় শকত but so sad কি সিহঁতৰ ভিতৰত সেই ফিয়ৰটো কিমান টাইমৰ পৰা ইনষ্টিলড হয় so automatically নিজৰ সেই বেয়া লাগাটো কমি যায় ঠিক আছে so যেনেকে তলত মই একদম লিখিছো ন কি ask yourself, is this about me or is it more about them? Whenever you feel the fear, question this to yourself. Narrative change হলে reframe কৰিলে you automatically feel better. Then the next part is to build self-esteem. So see, self-esteem, self-compassion, these are something which are very important because this is how we see ourselves in our individual life. This is how I view myself. মোৰ যদি এনেকুৱা লাগে কি I am a good looking girl, I'm a good therapist, I'm a smart girl, then automatically more confidence বাঢ়িব কাইলে যদি I have to speak to a client মোৰ যদি লাগিছে কি চলো I am good looking enough কি client মোক দেখিলে ভয় খাই না যায় মোৰ I am smart enough কি মই মোৰ client ক help কৰিব পাৰিম I am studious enough কি মই মোৰ সব practical applications বোৰ mindত থৈছো automatically মোৰ যেতিয়া client মোৰ ওচৰলৈ আহিব I'll be confident to help them. কিন্তু যদি মোৰে এনেকুৱা লাগি থাকে কি মই আজি ইমান বেয়া লাগিছো দেখাত মই সঁচাকে নাজানোৱে কিনো কৰি আছো মই লাইফত কিনো কৰি আছো মই জবত মোৰ ক্লায়েন্টটো যেতিয়া মোৰ আগত আহিব I'll be like কিনো help কৰিম I can't even help myself, what will I help the client? You know, so that is why having compassion for yourself is very important because until and unless you have a good self concept, you have a good self esteem, you cannot really help someone else. And it's not just in psychology, it is in engineering, it is in being an architect. Imagine as an architect or as an interior designer you are thinking ki মইতো একদমেই creative নহয় মই যে একোৱে কামৰ নহয়. How are you planning to build someone's house? You will not be confident only লাগিলে you are actually very creative, but if you don't look at yourself as that person you will not be able to deliver. And here to connect compassion, self compassion is very important. So one of the ways how we build self compassion is that you will see a lot of time আমি negative self talk কৰো কি আমি নিজকে চাই পেলাই আমি সদায় ভাবো কি মই ইমান বেয়া মই ইমান এনেকুৱা ইমান হেনেকুৱা. Instead of that, why don't we just for a second think ki নিজকে যে আমি ইমান বেয়াকে কৈছো, is this the way I will talk to my best friend? Because I'm sure this is not how I will talk to my best friend. মোৰ best friend যেতিয়া মোক কয় কি স্পৃহা চা মোৰ মুখত এনেকুৱা হৈ গৈছে, I tell them ki but Manishi, you are the most good looking person I know, why would you even say this? Like look at your skin, look at your hair, তো ইমান ধুনীয়া হয়. This is how I say and I feel it. So যদি মই মানসিক তেনেকে ক'ব পাৰো my best friend, then why can't I say that to myself? Because মোৰ ফ্ৰেণ্ডেও মোক সেইটোৱে কৈ থাকে but I can't accept it. Why? Because humans are naturally more critical about themselves. It's very difficult যেতিয়া already এটা ভয় এটা থাকে ন ভিতৰত about self, about people judging us, আমি পটককে সেই compliments বোৰ accept কৰিব নোৱাৰো. কোনোবাই compliment দিলেও আমি অলপ এনেকুৱা হৈ যাওঁ কি okay হ'ব thank you let's change the topic. কিন্তু confident মানুহক যদি তুমি কেতিয়াবা compliments there, you will see they will nicely tell you thank you so much. Very confidently they acknowledge, they appreciate it because within them they don't have a lot of fear, they actually have a higher self esteem for themselves. So change the script. নিজৰ লগত negative self talk কৰিলে just ask yourself, is this how you will talk to your best friend? and change it. Speak to yourself like you are your best friend. ঠিক আছে? And another very important thing in on how you actually build self-compassion is visualizations. So, as part of hypnotherapy, visualization is a very major part of our work. So you will see, at least try this from today for the next 21 days. Rati, when you go to sleep, before you go to sleep, just quickly think for a second. Imagine yourself doing well in life. Imagine yourself the way you would like to see yourself. And you will see automatically all of negative boost to but try not to have that. Like for example, মই ৰাতি হোৱাৰ টাইমত I always think মই গোলাঘাটত আছো, and মোৰ কুকুৰ কেইটা মোৰ ওচৰত আছে, and মই ৰাতিপুৱা উঠি মই breakfast খাইছো, because obviously here in Mumbai I don't eat my breakfast because মা নাই দেউতা নাই কোনো নাই ইয়াত. So just imagine yourself in your best life, in your ideal life, how you would like yourself to see. For 21 days imagine themselves the same thing. In the 22nd day you will see that automatically you are able to love yourself a little bit more, because somewhere, because তুমি visualize কৰি আছা no, so your mind gets motivated to have the same things in your real life also. So what, যদি মোৰ parents এতিয়া মুম্বাইত নাই to make me breakfast, I can make myself breakfast no, মইতো পাৰো এইটো বনাবলে. So what I do is কি এতিয়া মোৰ এদিন ৰাতিপুৱা উঠি মন যাব কি বনায়ে লওঁ নেকি breakfast, কিবা এটা খায়ে যাওঁ নেকি ভাল লাগিব, so I make it for myself, and then I become happy because at the end of the day I did what I wanted to do for myself. ঠিক আছে? So that's one way of building, of course, self-compassion. The last topic that we have to discuss on how to overcome fear of judgment is by practice exposure. Exposure mean কি আমি যোনটো বস্তু বা ভয় খাইছো ন, যোনটো বস্তু বা আমি fearful হৈছো, তো directly head on deal with it. মোৰ যদি ভয় লাগিছে কি মই ষ্টেজত গৈ পেলাই how will I talk 20 minutes about a topic, then I should get up on stage and talk 20 minutes about a topic. I should. Exposure is the way we reduce fear. যোনবোৰ মানুহৰ phobia থাকে ন, কি cockroach বা ভয় লাগে, কি দেখিলে একদম থাকিব নোৱাৰা হৈ যায়, like my sister, মোৰ cousin, so she has fear of bird feather. So তাই যদি feather ও দেখে ন, তাই একদম নোৱাৰা হৈ যায়. So like our family is really careful কি তাই থাকিলে কি চৰাই পাখি চাখি ওচৰে পাজৰে থাকিব নালাগে. But then again, now for such a case আমি কি কৰিম, in therapy আমি step by step client to we make sure the client becomes used to that feather, so that যোনটো stimulus হয়, যোনটো বা ভয় লাগিছে, আমি slowly acquaint হৈ যাম. যিমান আমি acquaint হম, আমাৰ তিমান fear কমিব. Because you will always see one thing, we are only scared till we don't deal with the thing. এবাৰ হৈ যোৱাৰ পিছত we don't feel scared. এবাৰ হৈ যোৱাৰ পিছত we are like, oh ঠিক আছে, হৈ গ'ল. Even like supposedly you want to wear a dress and you feel ki বেলেগ মানুহে তোমাক judge কৰিব. Once you wear it, একবাৰ the din is over, then you are not scared because এতিয়াতো হৈ গ'ল no. So that is why that exposure bit is very, very important. ঠিক আছে? So the activity that I have also before the activity, just to give like a quick wrap up, যোনটো মই লিখিছো কি overcoming the fear of judgment isn't about eliminating fear. Always remember, it's not about ending fear. It's about changing how you will actually cope and respond to it. So by reframing the narrative that we have discussed, or being kinder to yourself, that is self-compassion, or by practicing exposure, that means coming more in terms with the stimulus, you can actually build the confidence to face judgment with grace. Without falling in it, you are actually able to deal with it head on. Just remember one thing, that the goal isn't to never feel judged, because you will feel, you are human. It's to recognize that judgment, either it is real or either it is imagined. And always remember, in most cases it's imagined only. That doesn't define your worth at the end of the day, because it is an external person. What actually determines is how you think of yourself. If you are judging yourself, no, you will always feel that others are judging you. If you have better self-esteem, if you have stronger confidence in you, even if someone tells you something to your face, you will actually not care about it, because there is evidence to support otherwise. All right. But yes, having said that, there is just one activity that I would like for all of you to maybe practice today, because we have spoken so much about reframing of narrative and how the spotlight effect works. So today I want all of you to, just have this small activity with your friends and family. Joe, you can tell everyone ki, let's everyone make faces. Enike funny faces, no, all of enike benga type lagi bole. You can ask all of them to make faces, right? So one thing, and while they're making faces, obviously it's going to be funny and everything, and it's okay to laugh. But once after the you can hold that for about 5 to 10 seconds when মানুহে জমনি faces বোৰ বনাই আছে. But after that, you can ask them, that when you told your friends or family to do it, their first reaction will definitely be the hey কি কৈছো এই এইবোৰ সব আমি নকৰো কিন্তু এবাৰ হৈ যোৱাৰ পাছত was it actually fun or not? Just ask them that question. One thing that you will see that most people will say, yeah, it was fun. Why is it fun? Jabki initially সিহঁতি ভয় খাইছিলে সেই বস্তুটোৰ পৰা কৰিবলৈ কি hey মই মুখখন এনেকে কিয় বনাম because you know I'll look funny and then you'll judge me. But why is it fun now after doing it? And that's when you can talk to them about reframing the narrative. But then again, just try this activity because you know যোনটো বস্তু তুমি মোক শুনিছা কৈ থাকা, it's like now I'm just talking in theory. But when you practically you will try it with family and friends, you will automatically see that most people will think ki moi dekhat funny lagisu. They will not think ki tai dekhat funny lagise. Everyone will think about themselves only. Automatically you will see that. ঠিক আছে, but yes, having said that, I think we can take up questions and answers. Namrata is here. And thank you so much, everyone. And so sorry, more love speed out goes because I had my session at 7:30. So all quickly supposed to go. But yes, Namrata, now you can take over. Thank you so much.
First of all, ma'am, thank you so much for such a beautiful presentation.
Thank
It
you.
was really a good topic to discuss with today. So, ma'am, I just want to mention a thing about the thing you told about exposure. It's true, of
Hmm,
course. I also believe in that initially we tend to fear, but then when
correct.
we actually do that process, but when we actually do it in the process, in the whole process, we tend to, the fear disappears in the whole process.
True.
So it's true. The exposure thing is actually uh, every person should go through exposure in order to overcome their fear. But this is what I think.
Definitely.
And
Correct.
apart from that, ma'am, I do have one observation,
Hmm,
and I would like to have your insights on it. So, ma'am, when you mentioned about the social media thing, that nowadays people tend to uh, go over the reels and then they set a particular standard, like
hmm,
this person is doing this, so I also have
hmm.
to become like this. So, ma'am, it's
Correct.
like they're framing a kind of standard which they might not be initially thinking of, but then they eventually uh, become like that. So, ma'am, in that
Correct.
process, as you have mentioned that social media is strengthening the fear which
Hmm,
we might not be initially having in ourselves. So, ma'am,
true.
it is also evident in social media itself that even though it is strengthening our fear, it is also romanticizing our fear. Like
Correct.
there are various negative emotions that we go through, but then again, social media is romanticizing it. It's like even though we are facing some serious situations in our life, we simply tend to mock it in order to escape from it or to make it less serious. So,
Hmm.
ma'am, what do you think about it? What is your observations or insights?
Okay, Namrata, it's actually a good question. So just one thing, like for example, Mane starting from Shah Rukh Khan, if I have to talk about like, Kal Ho Na Ho is back in theaters, right? So, yad Mumbai and Delhi, सब जगह आपको Kal Ho Na Ho को लगाइसे and Kal Ho Na Ho was, I think, released in 2003 and I am a 98 born. So, যেতিয়া পাই এইটো release হৈছে, I have only watched in TV. মই কেতিয়াও halls তো I never had the chance, right? Because I was so young. But এতিয়া when it was there, so I thought ki, নাই গৈ চাব লাগিব, because I'm crazy about Shah Rukh Khan. So মই গলো চাবলে and all of that. And this time I saw so many things which were different about the movie. আগতে এনেকুৱা হয় কি মই অকল শ্বাহৰুখ খানকে চাই থাকো, ইমান ধুনীয়া and সি কান্দিলে মই কান্দো. But this time মই একদমেই নাকান্দিলো. যেতিয়া সি লাষ্টলৈকে মৰু মৰু আছিলে and সি ঢুকাই গল, then also I did not cry. And I was very happy about it. But starting from Shah Rukh Khaনৰ পৰা যোনটো সেই romanticization হৈছে কি সি হস্পিটেলত সি ঢুকাবলে হৈছে and প্ৰীতি জিন্টাই তাৰ মুখৰ বহুত ওচৰলে গৈ কিবা এটা কওঁকে ক'ব নোৱাৰি তাই দৌৰি গ'ল and তাইৰ then husband Saif Ali Khan is telling her that no, it's okay. Romanticizing even any sort of an emotion, especially a negative emotion, has been going on, I think, বহুত আগৰ পৰা ঠিক আছে so সেই বস্তুটো এতিয়াই চলি এনেকুৱা হৈ গৈছে কি now we have movies like Kabir Singh, you know um like how you mentioned that we romanticize a lot of emotions like trauma. বহুত মানুহে ভাবে কি আমি যেতিয়া ট্ৰমা বন্ডিং বুলি কওঁ তাৰমানে মই আৰু মোৰ ফ্ৰেণ্ড দুজনীয়ে আমাৰ ট্ৰমাছ কৈ পেলাই আমি বন্ড কৰিছো. That's not what it means. আমি শ্বেয়াৰ কৰিছো. But then again, trauma bonding will mean কি মোৰ যদি যেনেকে মোৰ যদি supposedly ex boyfriend এটা আছিলে যোনে মোৰ ওপৰত physical assault কৰিছিলে, সেই ল'ৰাটোক মই এতিয়া ব্ৰেকআপ কৰিব পাৰা নাই. মই কিয় পাৰা নাই? I can break up. I am independent. মই just ঘৰত এবাৰ ক'ব লাগে কি এই ল'ৰাটোৱে মোক মাৰিছে, সি খতম। But still মই কিয় তাক এৰিব পাৰা নাই? That is called trauma bonding. Because সেই ট্ৰমাটোৰ লগত মই বন্ড কৰি গৈছো। Because now to leave that trauma is very difficult. And এই বস্তুবোৰ আৰু বেছি strengthened হয় when we watch movies like Kabir Singh, where you can see that, Kiara has been subdued by Kabir Singh, by Shahid Kapoor basically. But she's in trauma, but তাই এৰিব পাৰা নাই. She is rather more and more in love কি ঠিক আছে চৰ খাইছো, but still বহুত ভাল লাগিছে মানুহটো. You are not able to leave. Jabki she came from a good family, she could have left the guy, she could have divorced, but she did not. That does not mean ki আমি নিজৰ family uphold কৰিছো. You can't get slapped by someone and hold a family. It's a very different thing. That is called trauma bonding. So আজিকালি সব negative emotions ক ন ইমান ভাল ভাল গান লগাই পেলাই ধুনীয়া ধুনীয়া চিন দেখাই দিছে কি we also want that for ourselves, and that is actually not right, because বহুত মানুহে তাৰপিছত ভাবে কি কি চলো this is okay কি মই কাবাক মাৰিম and তাৰপিছতো এই ছোৱালীজনী মোৰ লগত থাকিব, and I'm saying this from an experience of my friend য'ত when her boyfriend was assaulting and all of that. So তেতিয়া মানে she wanted to leave him. So তেতিয়া সি তাইক কয়, হাঁহি পেলাই দেই, এনেকুৱা নহয় কি ইমোশনলেছ পাৰ্চন, হাঁহি পেলাই সি তাইক কৈছে কি কিয় তই দেখা নাছিলি কিয়াৰায়োতো কি কবিৰ সিঙক এৰা নাছিলে, তোৰনো ইমান কি হৈছেনো? So he actually believes ki it's okay to raise your hand on your girlfriend. He actually believes that. He has romanticized it because he's smiling and laughing about it, and chocolate and he decides as if everything will be fine after that. So I think that is where Hekane Ajikali on Instagram also you have this age bar ki only after a specific age you can join Instagram, or bahut jagah Ajikali only after a specific age you can do this. Kiman movies that actually promotes violence for that matter, even though the disclaimer not promoting violence, sabat likha thake ki 16 and above watch it, 18 and above watch it. Parents e নিজৰ সৰু সৰু পোৱালিবোৰক যোনে কথাই ক'ব নাজানে সিহঁতকে মুভি হললৈ লৈ যায় and show them violence, but you don't understand how they carry that violence. There is a reason your age bar thake, and that is why I think having a check on what you are watching, what you are romanticizing is very important. Very, very important. So yeah, but it's a really good observation on your part.
Yes, Michelle, thank you so much, ma'am. This was the question from my side, and thank you for your insights as well. Ma'am, as we are time bound, it's already 7:30, so I would like to conclude this session. Ma'am, I'm thanking you again for being our speaker today, and we are really honored to have you as our
Thank you
speaker.
so much.
And also, we hope in the future we have future collaborations with you as well, ma'am. So thank you for joining us today. Yeah, that's it. Thank you,
Definitely,
ma'am.
definitely.
And
Thank
about
you,
and about
Namratan.
the,
Yes,
you mentioned about the research paper, right? So, ma'am,
correct,
I
correct.
would definitely like to read it. So, ma'am, I would like you to share it to me so that I can
Definitely,
read it.
definitely. Done, done. Just drop me your text. I will share the same with you.
Okay, ma'am. So I would like to
Thank
conclude. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
you.